Okay, we are live.
All right.
Okay.
Well, the meeting is now in order. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear any changes, deletions, additions?
No, I
can
make
I-
a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Any opposed? Well, I'm gonna say the minutes are approved then. We have one project to review, and that is a new construction next to 610 Paris Avenue. Linda, would you like to start us out there?
Yes, if I could, I'll take a moment to give you our staff report on the submission. So they are asking for a certificate of appropriateness, and that is your permission to build a new commercial structure on the same property. This is a unified piece of property. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the property. There is the historic structure to the south, and there is an open area that is also part of the property under the same ownership, etc. And it is on that property that the new addition is to be constructed. We would like for you to, and we have offered to you a copy of the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. That is the only place in the Secretary of the Secretary standards for an addition such as this to be made. Rehabilitation is defined as the act or process of making possible a compatible use for a property through repair, alterations, and additions. That's where I keyed into, while preserving those portions or features which convey its historical, cultural, and architectural values. I gave you an overview of what rehabilitation is, but I pull out of note to you these 3 points. Distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that are characterized a property will be preserved. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, massing, to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. And finally, number 10 there, new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property, that which we already have, and its environment would be unimpaired. I provided to you that report. I provided to you the applicant's application. I provided to you the readout from the 1997 historical surveys survey. In the interim, after you receive those materials, Chairman Webb asked for some other documents to be provided, specifically elevations from the northern side and the eastern elevation. We were provided in the initial package, the western elevation. So I emailed those to you today, and you may or may not have found those in your inbox. But nonetheless, I can at the appropriate time share my screen, which will bring all of it up in front of us, if that's what you need. So that's all I have from my staff report. I'll be glad to answer any questions. There, for me, in the upper left corner, we have the designers, the representatives of the property owner in attendance here with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Linda. Would the architect or the owner like to present their project now?
What did you say? Yes.
Um,
This is Stephen Karen Wingate, representative for Vanessa Werman, who's the property owner. This is Stephen Overcash, the architect for the project, and Steve Barker, who is the prospect for the acquisition.
Okay, I'm Stephen Overcash. I'm with ODA Architecture in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we have spent a lot of time in Port Royal studying this structure, and we love the project. It's obviously morphed over the years. It's not the same exact look as it was when it was originally built, but it has a lot of character. And we love this building. We want to give it a new life. I think right now it's a home of a salon and a photography studio. So we've got a concept that we think is necessary for Port Royal. Is a sort of a landmark hotel, very small, 24 keys. We looked at a little bit smaller end, but it just didn't make sense with the numbers. So we're looking at a 3.5-story addition to make this a very unique boutique hotel that would give people a place to stay as they visit Port Royal. The rendering that we've sent that shows the front, like I said, it's been modified over the years, but it has a lot of character. It's now brick. It has that wood structure at the front. So our logic was to not try to compete with the historic structure, but to create a very, very, I don't want to say plain, a very a clean structure next to it that would not compete with the existing structure. So our logic is to, if we went with a stucco building with great proportions, nice vertical windows, shutters, we're looking at a rooftop terrace. We've stepped down the front to 3 stories with a rooftop terrace in order to respect the scale of the original structure. And the idea was to let the old historic customs house be the gym and be subservient to it. So we didn't want to get into a lot of detail. We didn't want to try to bring brick or wood over to the new structure, but make it as clean as possible and just work with nice proportions and respect the historic structure. That's the front side that you see from the street. Even though it looks like 1 story higher, it is still doesn't compete. And then the 7th Street sketch, we just wanted to make it a nice proportions and nice vertical windows. We are proposing a reveal between the where you see the 5 windows, and then it steps down to the 2 windows to, as you'll see in the next slide, the elevations to sort of create, there you go. We want to create a reveal there, so it would look like that both structures had more of a vertical orientation. And then we think that the rooftop terrace, which would have wonderful views in all directions of the water, would be a fantastic. The top floor is sort of an event space. There'd be a meeting room, rooftop terrace, and of course some restrooms, and the rest would be hotel rooms. So we feel like it's appropriate, even though it's a slightly higher than this is the side that is on the east side, and it's very plain, but it faces, there's some heavily wooded area, and then there's residential, and we didn't want to create a lot of hotel rooms looking into other people's backyards. So even though it does look a little bit plain, it was done for a reason. It's also close to the property line, so we couldn't have a tremendous amount of windows on that side, but we just wanted to respect the privacy of the residential people in the next lot. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. It's 24 rooms, a little bit of rooftop meeting space, and public space on the first floor, and a great little courtyard on the south side. I know that existing building that you see in our site plan is going to be demolished. So we thought it'd be a great little, a small 1,150 square foot courtyard that you would pour out into for events or wine and cheese or a wedding reception or something. So that's pretty much the presentation, and we're open for questions.
Anybody on the board have questions, or I guess this is a good time to ask if we have any public comment. Do we have anybody on for public comment?
We only take public comment in advance of the meeting, not in real time. And we did not receive, staff has not received any comment about the project. The project was posted. We put a sign out a week ago to let the general public know as they were traveling past there that we were having this meeting. And so, as I say, heretofore, we've not received any comments.
Thank you. Do any board members want to ask questions of the architect, owner, or have any comments?
I have a question. This is Anna Ellerby. I'm going back in my emails and I can't find the original email from Linda with the front or the west elevation, the original one that we got. How far away is the new building from Customs House, and does it connect in any way? I just can't remember if that was shown.
If you'll go back to
does it connect other than this courtyard that's between the two?
Yeah, if you'll go back to the first floor plan, Linda.
Well, I can't do the first floor plan.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
We intentionally set it off about 15 feet from the original Customs House in order to respect the character and the windows. As you can see, we create a little small courtyard that's about 15 feet wide. We're showing a bench there, just a nice little green space before we created the addition. And we think that relief, pushing that stairwell back a third of the way into the building, really helps to not only respect the old Customs House, but give it some breathing room. We didn't want to smack right up against it, but we did need to create enough room to make it a viable project.
Okay, I have a question. Matt, I just wondered if it connected physically, like was there a place where there's a ramp or a walkway from one of the upper floors into the old Customs House, or is it just you have to go, it's just in through the bottom of the ground floor?
No, it connects. There's also a second floor. Linda, if you go to the next slide, the Customs House is 2 stories, so we also connect in at the second floor, and there's some we're creating the second floor of the Customs House into a couple of really nice suites. But then it also ties in, as you can see, right where you've got your cursor there.
Okay. Well, okay. I can't see it. I can't get any video for some reason. That's why I have these questions. I'm sorry.
We tried to be.
Anyway, okay.
It does connect,
You answered my-
Anna.
What?
But we do connect, Anna, but we tried to do it in a very light way, so that
Okay.
it's maybe only about half of the facade of the old Customs House is connected to the addition.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
So it
Anybody else?
looks, this is Kit, it looks like maybe 2/3 of the new building connects to the customs building. Two-thirds to 3/4 of the,
But if you look beyond it, we're not connecting at the back, so it's roughly a half where we're kissing the existing historic structure. Right there where the cursor
Yeah.
is the only place we're touching. It's an elevator and it's there. And we've even created reveals to further lessen the impact of the existing historic structure.
I think that certainly the materials are distinguishable, but the size and scale and proportion seem a little overwhelming to the original building, to me, to the customs house to me.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I felt like it just looked.
Well, it is bigger. Like I said, we tried to make it work with a 2.5-story building instead of 3.5, but we didn't. It wasn't going to be viable with the number of keys that we could get in 2.5 stories. So we really felt that the old structure is very detailed. It's brick. It's got that wood portico share. We feel like even though we're taller, by being very clean, very white, stucco, it doesn't overwhelm the historic structure. I think the key is that we all want to embrace this historic structure and give it a new life. We want it to be around for another 150 years, but to do that, we have to get to a point where it makes viable sense. And get to 24 rooms is not a big hotel. That's a very small inn.
Any other comments? Luann, would you like to comment?
I had a question about the number of parking spaces. I think I had read somewhere that there were going to be 15. I can't find that right now. But if you're having 24 rooms and conference area that would accommodate 60 people, how's that going to impact the available parking?
Well, it's I don't want to use the word urban, but it is down in that area where there's a lot of other parking spaces. Typically today, everybody thinks you got to have one car per room, and that's really not the way it works anymore, because there's so many, especially if people are driving together, you'll get a couple of businessmen in one car that are taking 2 rooms. So we have found out that we really don't need one space per room anymore. If there was a meeting, it would be primarily for the residents of the hotel. This is not a big enough meeting space to draw a large crowd. It's pretty much designed to serve the people that are already staying in the hotel. So it's not additional cars. It's the same cars that are already parked. And our experience finds that that should be enough cars for 85% of the time. If there are a few times when everything is full and there is a meeting going on, then we would create a valet parking service, and we'd be able to achieve more spaces.
So where would the employees be parking?
There's very few employees, and most of the employees are the service staff that are making up rooms during the day. When you don't need cars, you need most of the spaces at night when people are staying overnight. So the heart of house people are there pretty much during the daytime, when the parking lots are fairly empty. At nighttime, you'd probably have one employee for the whole hotel, once you got past 6 o'clock at night.
Is the restaurant?
There's very few employees in a hotel.
is the restaurant and bar just for the guests?
It pretty much is. If people want to walk down there from other venues in Port Royal, they're certainly welcome. Anybody can come in and use the restaurant, but it's a very, very, very small restaurant, so it's primarily for the guests. If a few tourists wander in, that's fantastic, and we hope they do.
I found the original picture of the very first picture that's underneath the application. And there's a little building on the south side. It almost looks like this hotel wraps around the back of a customs house and partially around the south side. And I don't know, what is that little one-story building with the door in the middle and no windows?
If you go to the first floor plan, Linda, we know to support. It's such a small building. If we wanted to get in a food service and a bar and restaurant, that would be the kitchen. But the doors that you see in the rendering are if there's an event out in that courtyard, and we wanted to cater a small gathering for 30 people, a wedding reception, the restaurant would be able to serve directly into the courtyard.
She's talking about that.
Okay.
That's
I guess I'm confused because in the looking down on it, the plan, these aren't numbered, are they? Anyway, never mind. There's an existing building there, but I don't even know what that is.
The existing building, I believe, is to be demolished.
part of the waterfront
Okay.
redevelopment.
All right,
It's gonna be demolished.
okay,
It's gonna be
Okay.
demolished.
okay.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. My main issues with the new construction, even though the historic building has a main lobby, the height, scale, and mass of the historic structure is engulfed by the addition, making the historic building subservient to the new composition. The addition is higher, wider, longer, and it cradles the old building. In fact, as best I can tell, there are no dimensions on the materials we give, but the new building looks about 3 times the size of the customs house, as best I can tell. And a small courtyard doesn't do anything to provide a context for the customs house. Port Royal was a very small town in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it had a small customs house. That fact is lost with this kind of construction, and I feel it negates the historic interpretation of the building. I just think that the addition is much too large for the lot, for the site, and for the historic building. Especially when you don't provide parking for even enough for the rooms, much less the staff and the restaurant. My feeling is that the building is much too large. The Secretary of Standards say that an addition will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. This new building wraps totally around on 3 sides of the historic building. And to my mind, it's much too large.
Well,
Are there
I felt that way too.
any other comments? Go ahead, Anna, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just agree with you.
So.
I don't have
what-
anything
what
else
would
to
you
say. I just
recommend?
agree. I think it's too big, but it's,
What would you recommend that would not handicap the property owner? Because, you know, I mean, there's just not a lot going on down there. And the waterfront redevelopment is very big. I mean, when you step across the street to the finished waterfront development, this is going to be very small compared to what you've already approved for that redevelopment. So how would you, I mean, how would you not tie the property owner's hands? What could she do with this property that
Well,
would give it a new life?
there are a lot of things, but it's really not up to us to design the property or the addition or the redevelopment of that property. It's up to us to look at what you design and render our opinion on it.
But because you don't like this, what would be your prescription? Since you don't like this, can you
Much
give
smaller,
us some ideas of things that you would approve?
much smaller. A way that you can provide enough parking that the building is not wrapped up with the new addition. This addition is much too large. I mean, of course, that's my opinion. I'm not speaking for the board. I'm speaking for myself.
I feel
You know,
it,
when we first came, I'm sorry.
I also feel it just overwhelms the custom house a little bit. It's very large, and it's just a big blank side there on the north side.
I have to agree also. While I think it's a nice idea, and a boutique hotel, I think and dining and a bar, the structure is just too big in relation to the customs house, which historically we want to preserve as much as we can in Port Royal, what it's all about, and maintain that flavor.
We understand that, and like I said, we looked at a 2.5-story structure, and we just couldn't make the economics work. And we want to preserve this customs house. We want to give it a second, third, and fourth life that would bring people and to give them the experience. Hey, I'm staying in a hotel that is a 150-year-old building, and so we intentionally. I know you say it's plain and it's blank. That was done intentionally. If you look at this rendering right here, there is so much detail, and that's not the way the original customs house looked. But it's been changed over the years. But we feel like we did a good job. Okay, it is taller. We realize that, but the customs house has so much detail in buying brick. And we pushed the addition back, and we created the courtyard. We really, if you go to any historic city, there's a lot of up and down. Every building in a historic, go to Charleston, go to Savannah, go to San Francisco, there's a lot of up and down. Go to Beaufort, South Carolina, there's a lot of up and down. That's what gives things character. If everything was 2 stories, it would get sort of bland. So we feel like it's okay if we touch lightly to it's almost like we're on the next lot. We don't touch the building very much. We push, it's almost like it's a second building. If there had been a property line right up against our building and we were able to build this building, we wouldn't have been considered an addition. So it's okay to have a little up and down in any community. That's what gives it character. If everything was 2 stories and brick with a wood portico share, it would get a little boring, and we feel like the proportions are good on the addition. We know it's a little taller. We don't feel like it overwhelms because we kiss lightly the historic building.
It's 4 floors.
If I may,
Is 2 floors.
3
if
and
I
a
may
half.
interject, my name, excuse me. I'm sorry. May I have the opportunity to speak? My name is Steve Barker. I'm interested in developing the site, and I've worked with Mr. Overcash on many other unique hotels, not just branded hotels, if you will, but ones that have a story to tell. and your Customs House has a storyline. I'm not so sure, and I don't disagree with you on some of the issues that you brought up, but there's many factors that will come into play, whether this design or someone else's design comes into play with the Customs House. One of those is to embellish the storyline of the Customs House. That would probably be one of my major concerns, is the retention of that storyline and the history of the building, and to not impact the building by pushing a wall up against the building or something of that nature. Although there is a connectability between the two buildings, a good portion of the building is not impacted at all by the feature of the building next to it, and in the sense of any physical contact. So the context of the Customs House building is in fact preserved. There's nothing impacting it except the extension to the next building on the first and second floors. In fact, it is embellished a little bit by the small courtyard on both sides of it. Right now, you have a building that has a questionable future. Is the current tenancy what is going to help Port Royal in the future? Is it going to help entice people to come and see that building? Is it going to become something that is just not attended to and promoted into the next chapter in the Port Royal history? I wonder if there's I've seen, we've worked on many situations. I don't mean to get too wordy here, I apologize. We've worked on many situations that are what I call postage stamp size, yet you have to have an impact. Parking is always a problem in any of these situations where you have these types of configurations and small lot lines. One thing that Mr. Overcast did not mention is if you have 24 rooms, you're not going to be filled all the time. So it doesn't, it's like, are you going to plan for Easter Sunday kind of thing? Yes, there will be times when it's full, and yes, there will be a lot of activity. But the question is what's the norm? And the norm is it may not require as many parking spots as you might inflect into the property on an average basis. So you're going to have high times and low times as far as the utilization of the building. These are very hard to do. Trying to sort of combine a unique opportunity to reflect on the Custom House and bring it back to life. That's how I kind of see it. I shouldn't speak for everybody else, but it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for Port Royal to put something in play that really enhances your delivery and your entrance to the new development just across the street. So it is a gateway. It is also an interim property that kind of blends up to your other property that's being improved. So it adds to your community immeasurably from that standpoint. The texture of the outside of the building, the white, you can put anything you want on that. If you want to emulate the brick, okay. If you want to make it like the courthouse, okay, but I think that takes away from the courthouse in its individuality. The Custom House. So I think it takes away from the actual character of the Customs House. So you've singularly made the Custom House the focal point and downplayed the rest. I hope that gives you some ideas of what we've experienced in the past and how it might blend together. You have a great opportunity here. It may not be what you like today, but you're going to have someone come along and they're going to have other ideas. It may be much less than this, but I think this is, at least in my opinion, a really grand way to promote Port Royal.
Well,
And we can tell the story of the Customs House and of Port Royal in this property throughout the existing building and the addition. So right now, I know when we Google the Customs House in Port Royal, we don't find lots of information. So it would be nice to refresh that story and spread the word and tell the story.
I agree. It would be nice when people come from all over the United States to have a place to stay and tell the story of Port Royal. And I think a boutique hotel, landmark hotel, is going to tell the story more than a salon.
I was asked,
The
The
property
idea.
clearly is not being, the property is not being maximized right now. I mean, it just isn't. It's just a sad little old building that has a couple of tenants in it at the end of a street across from a bunch of old industrial buildings.
Correct.
So I think that the character of the entire waterfront will change. And I think when that's built, if this remained the same, then again, it's just going to disappear into the background of Port Royal. This is your jewel, and we would like very much to tell the story and to make it a jewel again.
Agreed.
Kit, did you have a comment?
I agree that a boutique hotel at the end of Paris with a restaurant is a great idea. I just think that the structure is it's just a little overwhelming, I feel like.
I-
Is
I
it
will-
because of the size or is it because of the color?
The
The
size.
I mean, if there was a more gentle transition, would that make a difference to you?
It's 3 times the size of the Customs House. What if I was asked what I would do? I've been involved with historic preservation and restoration all my life, and the first thing, if this were my project, I would take that photograph that we have in our packet here of the original Custom House front facade, and I would take off that Western looking, fairly new facade there, and I'd put
The saloon, you mean?
to the original facade, and probably re-stucco the building to bring it back to what it was up until about 20 years ago. And I would reduce size to a much more reasonable size, say 15 rooms instead of 25, and something that you could accommodate with the parking that's available, something that would not overwhelm the historic structure. And I know that generally it's thought that with bed and breakfast, that 12 rooms is a break-even point, or perhaps even a profit, can be profitable at 12 rooms. I think that you're trying to put way too much on this small lot. Perhaps you could buy some more property if you want a hotel that size, but in my opinion, the building is just way too large, the addition. Any other comments from the board? Do we have a motion? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that they come back with something a little smaller.
Well, I think that the motion would be that
Not
this,
to approve.
to not approve this
May I ask, excuse me for interrupting,
do we have a second?
I would second it.
Any more comments from the board? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And we have, Anna, did you say aye?
I did say aye.
Okay. Everybody else did, so that's unanimous. So I think that the instructions would be to come back with a a proposal that is not so overwhelming to the historic building. But,
I have one,
Linda, is there any other
excuse me.
business?
Excuse me for interrupting, I just have one last question. National Historic Buildings, I don't know if this is one or not, but these buildings can be demolished. So whether it's someone that comes behind it, you have to kind of keep that in context.
They have to
Especially
get
if it's a new
before this
development.
board, they have to take it before this board to demolish that building.
Okay, that's fair enough. But if you can't demolish it, or if you can't renovate it the way you want, will it just stay the same?
Well, renovating the way you want is the key here, you know, I own historic buildings in Beaufort. A lot of people have them, and we can't necessarily do it the way we want. We have to accommodate the
No,
rules.
I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, sure.
Linda, is there any other business?
There is no other business on our agenda. No, sir.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the
Thank you.
meeting.
Thank you very much, by the way.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Meeting is adjourned.